The European Union will ban Russian gas pipelines and liquefied natural gas from entering the bloc by the end of 2026 and mid-2027. There will be exceptions for Hungary and Slovakia, which will be allowed to tap Moscow's gas in case of supply disruption. Despite this, Hungary has said it will challenge the law at the European Court of Justice.
This has been a very short night for the negotiators, but today is indeed a historic day for our union. Last night, we reached a provisional agreement on the Commission's proposal to fully phase out Russian fossil fuels. We're turning that page, and we're turning it for good. This is the dawn of a new era, the era of Europe's full energy independence from Russia.
Breaking free from Russian energy imports has been a priority for the EU since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Ever since, the EU has announced various measures to diversify energy suppliers and reduce reliance on Russia.
As we slashed Russian imports of fossil fuels massively, we also cut the revenues that Russia uses to wage its war of aggression against Ukraine. We were paying to Russia 12 billion euros per month at the beginning of the war for fossil fuels. Now we're down to 1.5 billion per month, still too much. We aim to bring it down to zero.
EU countries will now be required to develop national diversification plans with concrete actions and timelines to cease imports of Russian natural gas and oil by March 1st, 2026.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has said that Belgium will receive sweeping guarantees in order to unblock a controversial reparations loan for Ukraine. Belgium remains opposed to the scheme, which would channel frozen Russian assets to cover Ukraine's financial and military needs for the next 2 years. The bulk of the assets, about 185 billion euros, are held at Euroclear, a central securities depository in Brussels.
We have listened very carefully to Belgium's concerns, and we have taken almost all of them into account in our proposal that is today on the table of the reparations loans. We have very strong safeguards in place to protect member states and to reduce the risks as much as possible.
Thank you, President.
The reparations loan is von der Leyen's preferred option to cover the 90 billion euros Europe is meant to contribute to funding for Ukraine. Since the start of discussions in September, Belgium has demanded all-encompassing guarantees from other member states to shield itself against retaliation from Moscow and prevent multi-billion euro losses. If no deal is found on the reparations loan, the EU will resort to joint borrowing, as it did during the COVID-19 pandemic. The guarantees outlined on Wednesday present the Commission's most comprehensive attempt to overcome Belgium's resistance before a crucial EU summit on the 18th of December.
The EU is proposing a new strategy to protect the European economy from coercive trade measures in third countries. The European Security Doctrine is the European Commission's policy to lower dependencies on countries such as China and the US, where recent actions have raised concerns about hostile or coercive measures which could seriously harm European industry. The doctrine recommends, among other things, that member states and businesses diversify supply chains in areas such as critical raw materials, rare earths, semiconductors and technology chips. A recent confrontation between the Chinese and Dutch governments threatened the global automotive industry. EU Trade Commissioner Maroš Šefčovič said this incident was an example of why dependencies are a vulnerability for Europe.
I think that it just put into the new limelight the importance of the economic security for the European Union, and it just shows that dependencies could be very dangerous, could be very expensive. From the longer-term perspective, I think what is very important is that we would also diversify and increase the number of suppliers of, in this case, legacy chips. But I can speak about critical raw minerals. I can speak about sensitive technologies, because simply when you are reliable just on one supplier, usually it presents it also presents a lot of risks.
At the same time, you can do all these trade deals with other countries, let's say away from China. You can have an economic security doctrine, but really businesses will decide who they want to do their trade with. And often they'll choose price over standards or over security, and that often means China.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think that we are also, with this communication, trying to bring the new light to the economic security aspect of the business. I think that you see it everywhere in the world. You see it in the US, you see it in Japan. I think that this economic security risk premium must be more and more factored in the business plans of European companies. Simply, we need to learn how to be alerted about the possible shortcomings. We have to learn how to stockpile critical raw materials or sensitive products, and we have to be also maybe ready to pay more for the investments, but also for the procuring of the be it critical minerals or critical components from various sources, because this is how you can guarantee your business continuity.
The European Union has issued updated guidance for asylum applications by Syrian nationals that reflects new conditions in Syria a year after the fall of former longtime leader Bashar al-Assad. The changes may influence the result of asylum requests of some 110,000 Syrians who were still awaiting an asylum decision at the end of September. When Syria's civil war started in 2011, 23 million people were displaced, and 5 million Syrians fled to neighboring countries and Europe. The number of Syrians requesting asylum dropped significantly from 16,000 in October 2024, before the fall of al-Assad in December, to 3,500 in September 2025. The European Union Agency for Asylum said opponents of al-Assad and military service evaders are no longer at risk of persecution. But the agency said other groups may be considered at risk in the post-Assad Syria, including people affiliated with the former government and members of the Alawites, Christians, and Druze ethnic religious groups.
Farmers in northern Greece disrupted traffic at border crossings on Wednesday in an escalating protest over delayed European Union-backed subsidy payments linked to an investigation into a corruption scandal. In the northern city of Ceres, farmers carried out symbolic road blockades and some bypassed police checkpoints as they marched towards the Promachonas customs office. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis said the government is open to dialogue but warned against disruptive protests.
Είμαστε πάντα ανοιχτοί για συντεταγμένο διάλογο. Αλλά νομίζω ότι και οι αγρότες μας αντιλαμβάνονται πως ακραίες ενέργειες, παρατεταμένα κλεισίματα εθνικών οδών, κλεισίματα τελωνίων, κλεισίματα αεροδρομίων, αυτές οι ενέργειες που δεν βοηθούν την προσπάθειά τους, προξενούν προβλήματα σε άλλες κοινωνικές ομάδες, πολύ περισσότερο όταν η κυβέρνηση έχει δεσμευθεί ότι ο Δεκέμβριος θα είναι ένας μήνας ουσιαστικής ενίσχυσης του εισοδήματός τους με καταβολή σημαντικών ποσών.
Protests by farmers are common in Greece, but a latest scandal prompted the resignation in June of 5 senior government officials and led to the phased shutdown of the agency handling farm subsidies.
The Trump administration has paused all immigration applications, including green card and U.S. citizenship processing, filed by immigrants from 19 non-European countries, including Afghanistan and Somalia. According to an official memo, the new policy stems from the attack on U.S. National Guard members in Washington last week, in which an Afghan man was arrested as a suspect. Trump also stepped up his rhetoric against Somalis, disparaging the country and accusing Somali immigrants of not contributing to U.S. welfare.
I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too.
According to U.S. media reports, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has been directed by the Trump administration to target undocumented Somali immigrants in Minneapolis, home to the largest Somali immigrant population in the U.S. Many of the migrants who moved from Somalia to the US left in the 1990s during the country's decades-long civil war.
The Bulgarian Council of Ministers has withdrawn the controversial draft budget for 2026 after immense domestic pressure and major protests. The budget proposed a steep rise in taxes and social security contributions, which would mainly affect workers and ordinary people. The reversal was announced on Tuesday after more than 100,000 people stormed the streets nationwide on Monday night to oppose it.
Днес правителството взе решение да оттегли съгласно процедурата, предвидена в правилника за организация и дейността на Народното събрание, проектите на Закон за държавен бюджет и двата бюджета на Здравната каса и на общественото осигуряване.
The protests were organized by the main opposition coalition between the We Continue the Change and Democratic Bulgaria parties, who are now calling for the government's resignation and early elections.
Видяхме, че правителството този път, може би, чу протеста и оттегля бюджета. Това можеше да бъде избягнато, ако се беше случило миналата седмица. Вече е късно. Чухме хората на протеста. Хората на протеста искат оставката на това правителство и излизането на Борисов и Пеевски от българската политика.
Prime Minister Zhelyadskov has ruled out the government's resignation, citing a need for stability as the country prepares to enter the Eurozone. Sofia is set to adopt the euro from the 1st of January.